At exactly 11:51 p.m., my phone lit up the way truth always does, sharp, merciless, and impossible to ignore. A message from my mother. "We've agreed. You're no longer part of this family. Don't come to any gatherings. No explanation, no hesitation, no room for questions. Just a digital execution delivered through a glowing screen." Before I could even process the words, another notification appeared. My sister Kayla had heart-reacted to the message, like betrayal was a team sport and she'd just scored the winning point. I didn't cry, I didn't reply, I didn't beg. Instead, I stared at the screen until something inside me went quiet. Not numb, focused. I closed the message, placed my phone face down on the table, and opened my laptop. Because when you've spent your whole life holding everyone else together, you don't fall apart when they push you out. You calculate. I logged into my bank account, then the credit card apps, then the password manager I hadn't touched in months. Mortgage payments, utility accounts, insurance policies, tuition transfers, subscriptions I didn't even remember agreeing to. One by one, I started clicking cancel. Electricity, internet, car insurance, automatic mortgage drafts. Each confirmation screen felt like a quiet switch flipping somewhere far away. By 12:03 a.m., the world they lived in, warm, stable, comfortable, started blinking in the dark. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me something. Where are you listening from right now? Because I need to know I'm not the only one who's ever had to turn the lights off on their own family just to survive. When the last tab closed, the silence in my apartment thickened. The refrigerator hummed softly. The wall clock ticked, each second loud enough to feel like testimony. My hands rested on the keyboard, steady in a way that surprised me. I wasn't angry. Anger would have been loud. This was colder, cleaner. For years, I'd been the silent investor in my family's version of love, the mortgage that never defaulted, but never had my name on the mailbox, the car insurance that magically renewed itself, the utilities that stayed on even during their rough months. Every emergency landed in my lap, every crisis had my debit card attached to it, and every conversation started the same way. "We just need a little help. It's temporary. You're the responsible one." I told myself it was love, that family meant sacrifice, that being dependable meant being invisible. I thought if I endured long enough, they'd eventually see my worth. Now I saw the truth. It wasn't love. It was a subscription, and I was the one paying for it. I looked around my apartment. Everything was clean, organized, labeled, color-coded folders, neatly stacked documents. Order had always been my coping mechanism. Growing up in a house where emotions exploded without warning, I learned that control meant safety. But tonight, that order turned against me. Every receipt was evidence. Every automated payment was proof of how long I'd been funding my own erasure. My mother raised me on guilt the way some families pass down recipes. Small portions, served often, impossible to refuse. My sister Kayla was the golden child, loud, charming, reckless, and completely insulated from consequences. My father learned survival through silence. I learned survival by making sure nothing ever broke. I remembered the first time I paid their property tax. They were days away from foreclosure, voices shaking on the phone. I was 26, barely affording my own rent, but I wired the money without hesitation. My mother cried, called me her guardian angel. I believed her. Then came the utilities, then the car payments, then Kayla's college tuition, $18,000 a year, 3 years in a row. Funny how angels always end up paying rent in hell. I rubbed my eyes, waiting for regret to crash into me. It didn't. What came instead was clarity. This wasn't a breakdown. It was an audit. The last time I'd seen them was 6 months ago at a Sunday dinner. My mother corrected my posture in front of everyone. Kayla bragged about an upcoming business trip I knew was a beach resort. My father joked that I was too serious to ever keep a man. I smiled. I swallowed. I survived. That dinner table had been a courtroom. I just didn't realize I was the one on trial. Now, in the quiet glow of my laptop, I opened a new spreadsheet. Date, amount, reason, proof. My fingers moved fast, like they'd been waiting years for permission. Outside my window, city lights blinked like Morse code. Somewhere across town, my family was sleeping peacefully, convinced I'd finally accepted my exile. They had no idea I was just getting started. By morning, my phone looked like a crime scene. Missed calls stacked on top of each other like evidence no one wanted to explain. My father, my mother, Kayla. Their names glowed on the screen like ghosts of something that used to feel permanent. I didn't answer a single one. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It had weight, proof. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. The first message that came through wasn't even from my mother. It was from Kayla. "You're overreacting. Mom didn't mean it that way. Can we just talk?" Talk. That word had been weaponized in my family for years. Talk never meant accountability. It meant reset. It meant pretending nothing happened and quietly returning to my assigned role. I read the message twice. There wasn't an apology in it. Not even confusion, just control disguised as concern. I deleted it and went back to my spreadsheet. Each line I filled felt heavier than the last. Dates, amounts, reasons I'd written off as family emergencies, tuition payments, insurance renewals, late fees I'd absorbed without complaint. Each number was a memory I'd buried to keep the peace. I remembered the night my dad called me at 2 a.m. stranded at a gas station because his card declined. I'd transferred money without asking questions, then gone to work on 3 hours of sleep. I remember Kayla crying about her tuition deadline, promising she'd pay me back someday. Someday never came. Every dollar ended the same way. Me fixing a problem I didn't create. At exactly 9 a.m., an email landed in my inbox. From my mother. No greeting, no apology. "We need to talk about what you've done. You've created a mess. Call immediately." Not a single word about the message she sent the night before. No acknowledgement of the exile. Just an order. A demand that I step back into position. Fixer. Buffer. Peacekeeper. And in that moment, something clicked. They didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as infrastructure. I typed one sentence. "I'm busy reconciling accounts. You should do the same." Then I hit send. The phone rang immediately. I watched it vibrate on the table like an insect trapped under a glass. I didn't answer. By noon, the panic started leaking through the cracks. A text from my father. "Can you please explain what's going on with the utilities? Your mother is losing it."
Why are you doing this? You're ruining everything. Ruining everything. As if the years of quiet financial bleeding hadn't counted. As if my silence had been a privilege, not a survival tactic. I opened my banking app and scrolled. Years of transactions, transfers I barely remembered making. Something inside me shifted. The guilt I'd been trained to feel, tattooed into my bones since childhood, began to loosen. This wasn't anger anymore. It was precision. By 3 p.m., the tactics changed. First came frustration, then nostalgia, then shame. My mother posted on Facebook. "Some people forget who raised them once they start making money. Pride comes before destruction." It got dozens of likes, mostly from relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years, people who only knew the version of the story my mother curated for public consumption. I didn't respond. I took a screenshot. That was the moment the scale tipped. Not just financially, but mentally. I understood something I'd never been allowed to before. Silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. At 6 p.m., I called Julia. She'd been my friend since college, the one who used to sit on my dorm room floor while I cried after family phone calls. Now, she was a family law attorney who specialized in cases people whispered about at holidays. "I think I'm done playing accountant," I said. She didn't ask questions, didn't question. She just said,
Then start documenting everything. We'll make it official. That night, I went through everything. Emails, bank transfers, receipts, contracts I'd signed without reading closely enough because family. I labeled folders like evidence. Each file name was calm, professional, detached. The more I organized, the lighter my chest felt, like I was finally allowed to breathe without permission. By midnight, my inbox looked like a courtroom, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one on trial. Outside, the city kept moving. Sirens, traffic, late-night laughter drifting through the window. Inside, something else was happening. A reckoning. Quiet. Methodical. My phone buzzed again. Kayla. Please, Mom's really upset. You know how she gets. I stared at the message for a long time. Yes, I knew exactly how she got, and I knew how it always ended, with me paying for it. I muted the thread and closed my laptop. For the first time in years, I slept without my phone on the pillow beside me. No emergency calls, no guilt alarms, just silence. And it felt dangerous and free. The second night, the quiet had a pulse, not peaceful, watchful. My apartment was dark, except for the glow of my laptop screen, and every open tab felt like a doorway into a past I'd been forced to normalize. Mortgage statements, insurance policies, tuition invoices, tax records. They hadn't just leaned on me, they'd built their entire stability on my silence. At exactly 11 p.m., Julia called. Everything ready? She asked. Every receipt, every transfer, every signature, I said. There was a pause on the line, then a low, satisfied breath. Good. Then you're not asking for repayment, Sophia. You're enforcing it. She told me exactly what to write. No emotion, no history, no accusations. Just facts dressed in professional language. Subject line, outstanding balances, Johnson family account. The body was short, surgical. This email serves as formal notice of reimbursement due for documented financial support provided between 2017 and 2024. You have 30 days to initiate a repayment plan before legal action is pursued. No threats, no anger, just truth. When I hit send, the silence that followed felt alive, like something had finally woken up. 12 minutes later, the replies started pouring in. My father first. Sweetheart, this is getting out of hand. Let's keep this private. I let the silence stretch long enough for him to feel uncomfortable. It is private, I said calmly. It's just finally documented. He inhaled sharply. You're making your mother sick. No, I replied. She made herself sick. I just stopped paying for the medicine.
I hung up before he could respond. By noon, my mother posted again on Facebook. Scripture, self-pity, carefully framed victimhood. We raised her with love, and now she's turned against her own family for money. This time, something different happened. Comments appeared. Cousins, distant relatives, people who'd stayed quiet for years. Didn't she cover your house after foreclosure? Wasn't she paying tuition? Wait, forged signatures? The thread cracked open. At 1:46 p.m., an email from Julia hit my inbox. Subject, additional discovery. Attached was a PDF, bank records, trust withdrawals. Her note was short. Confirming inheritance withdrawal, $40,000. Signature mismatch, forgery likely. My hands went cold. The kitchen remodel, the marble counters, the timing, it all aligned. My mother hadn't just used me, she'd stolen from me. By evening, Julia had already filed an injunction. The court froze their assets before dinner. That night, every channel lit up again. Emails, texts, voicemails looping the same phrase. It was a misunderstanding. We'll pay you back. Don't ruin the family. The irony made me laugh out loud. At 8:32 p.m., my apartment buzzer rang. I looked through the peephole. My mother stood there,
eyes red, clutching an envelope like a lifeline. "Sophia," she whispered when I opened the door just enough to speak, "please, we're losing everything. Do something for your sister." "For Kayla?" I asked. "She's still your sister," my mother said, voice shaking. I handed her the paper already waiting on my table, the eviction notice Julia had filed that morning. "You'll get the official copy in 7 days," I said quietly. Her face drained of color. "You wouldn't," she whispered. "I already did." She searched my face for the daughter who fixed things, the one who forgave, the one who paid. That girl was gone. "Goodbye, Mom," I said, and closed the door. I didn't watch her leave. I just stood there, breathing, as an era ended. By the next afternoon, everything collapsed with quiet efficiency. Utilities were disconnected one by one. The mortgage notice landed in their inboxes like a final verdict. Julia forwarded confirmations. Asset freeze approved. Eviction scheduled. Probate court notified. Then the internet exploded. My mother posted again. This time shorter, sharper. She's suing her own parents. "We're heartbroken." For a few hours, the comments were sympathetic. Then the truth arrived. Aunt Meredith, quiet, factual, never dramatic, typed one sentence. "You mean the part where you forged her signature and stole the inheritance?" The thread went silent. Hours later, my phone rang from an unknown number, New York area code. "This is Amy Patel from the Patterson and Lowe probate office. We're handling your late grandmother's estate. We found discrepancies in the beneficiary list." My heart stilled. Discrepancies? "Yes, your name appears to have been crossed out and replaced. The signature does not match." Everything clicked. The remodel, the sudden upgrades, the money that never made sense. "Please send everything to my attorney." By midnight, Julia confirmed the filing. Inheritance fraud. Another layer of truth peeled back. In the following days, the story spread quietly through the family. Cousins reached out. Aunts, uncles. "They borrowed from us too. They never paid anyone back. You're not crazy." Each message felt like air returning to lungs I didn't realize were starved. The official court notice arrived a week later. Repayment enforced. Probate reversed. Their house, still legally mine, sold within days. Julia wired the proceeds to my account. Watching the confirmation line appear didn't feel like revenge. It felt like balance. Kayla texted one last time. "You won." I stared at the screen, then typed back, "No one wins when family becomes debt." I muted her number and never looked back. Weeks passed. The noise faded. The panic stopped calling. I bought a small apartment downtown. Nothing grand, just clean walls, sunlight, and no ghosts. The first night there, I opened the old spreadsheet, the one that had tracked every dollar I'd spent saving them. I stared at it for a long time. Then I hit delete. Watching it vanish didn't feel like loss. It felt like freedom. I slept through the night for the first time in years. A month later, I visited my grandmother's grave. I laid down tulips, her favorite, and whispered, "It's done." The wind moved through the trees like an answer. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly when you finally stop paying for other people's chaos. If you've ever had to walk away from the people who broke you, hear this. You're not cruel. You're choosing survival. And before you go, tell me, where are you listening from right now? Because stories like this remind us we're never alone. If this story hit home, explore the Betrayal and Revenge playlist for more real-life stories just like this. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and I'll see you in the next chapter.